Welcome to the LSL Podcast. I'm Derek McKenna, and I'm joined as always by Andy McNulty. Andy, how are you? Have the toes defrosted yet after yesterday?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I had to leave early. It was such a cold day, Derek. To be honest with you, I was just getting back from an illness, so I said I wouldn't hang around just in case.
Yeah, extreme weather conditions over the weekend. So, but we'll hear more about you. We're at the game against Kilnamanagh and Cockhill. We'll hear a little bit more about that in a while. On tonight's episode of the podcast, we have the usual roundup of the big games from the past weekend, although there wasn't a huge amount of them on because of the weather. We also have a preview of the big games coming up this week. And as well as that, we have interviews with St. Kevin's manager, Stephen Costello, and Kilnamanagh manager, Keith Foy, about their upcoming FAI intermediate quarter-final games. So before we get into the interviews, Andy, as I mentioned, wasn't a huge amount of games on over the weekend, but we've picked out some of the big ones. On Friday night, I was over in Cherry Orchard against Malahide. Have to say, hugely impressed with Malahide in that game. They won 6-0. A bit of a Valentine's Day massacre there. Some great goals on show as well. The pick of the bunch, Killian Thompson, who smacked one in from the halfway line, spotted the keeper off his line. Really, really excellent goal. Other goals from Doyle, Garrett Craven, Paulie Gavin, Rob Duggan, and Darren Craven as well. So really, really good goals and show. I was hugely impressed with Malahide. As I said, they were literally rampant throughout the game. You've seen them yourself, Andy, haven't you, Malahide, this season?
Yeah, I think we've shown a bit of love to Malahide in fairness on this podcast over the last few episodes, and they've been very impressive. I think Garrett McCaffrey as well singled them out as one of the best teams that the Moctus players have played against as well. So I think that speaks volumes that other teams are talking about them in the way that they are. It's just I suppose historically they haven't been able to keep it up for the entire season, but they don't look to be letting up anytime soon. So yeah, they're doing really well. They're playing some really, really good football, and it's unusual for them to get such a comprehensive away win, which they get a bit of stick over. But yeah, that could be the difference for them this year, is that they're starting to actually impose themselves in their away games and they're actually getting results out of it. So it could be a huge turning point for them in the season.
Yeah, like I think like Cherry Orchard obviously be disappointed with such a kind of a big loss, but they were three goals down very early on. Then they lost a man sent off for dissent, and then it was 3-0 at half time. Another three quick goals early in the second half. So it actually could have been a lot more, to be quite honest. So as I said, hugely impressed with Malahide. Look forward to see them again soon. At the other end of the table, Andy, big results for Ballymun. It was kind of your relegation 6-pointer that they typically call these type of games. Both teams at the bottom end, Newbridge and Ballymun, but Ballymun got a 2-goal win. Goals from Tyrick Riley and George Mutake. In the Senior 1, sponsored by the Beacon Hospital, big wins for Patsy Y, 6-0 against Skerries Town, and Home Farm 3-0 against UCD. What other big games did you come across the weekend, Andy? Did you see any big ones pop up?
Yeah, there was a couple in the Lummy O'Reilly. One stood out there. It was Collinstown beat Airfield. Keith Rickard and Darren
Yeah.
Rickard with the Collinstown goals, and Ross Coyle goal for Airfield. So that's a one that probably jumps out. Then in Major Sunday, we had someone actually tweeted us earlier on today, and thanks very much for that. I don't recall your name, so apologies.
Adrian.
But Adrian, yeah, had a fantastic game of ball on Friday night. Two teams going at it hell for leather, and Rush, after being 2 down and then 3-2 down, went on to win 5-3. So obviously a report sent into us there, and we'd encourage more people to get in touch with us with those sort of games so that we can call them out. Obviously it was well worth his time going down to that game on Friday night. 8 goals. It's a great advert for that league, and
top of the division as well. Yeah, Rush, so having a great season.
Yeah, they're really flying. So it's good that they're obviously showing a bit of confidence after being 3-2 down and then 3-2 down. So they've obviously a little bit about them to be able to get back into the game. And then in the same division, Major Sunday, Sheriff beat CYM Beechwood 4-0. So good result there for Sheriff.
Yeah, and then another kind of big result that stood out in the Premier 1 Sunday. Not so good news for Rush Athletic. They were on the end of a 12-0 thumping by Enniskerry YC. So a huge result for Enniskerry there. The other kind of big results at the weekend, I think were both games played yesterday. The FAI Intermediate Cup, Crumlin against Maynooth University Town. It was quite close, I think, coming into the closing stages. As far as I'm aware, it was 1-1, but then Maynooth got the win late on. Goals from Conor Dunn, Mark Colgan, and Burke with the Maynooth goals. So they go through to the next round there. And
great updates. Sorry, Derek. Great updates by both teams there. In fairness, video highlights and updates regularly from both teams on that game. So, as I said, I was over in Kelly Park watching the Kilnamanagh game, and I was able to follow that game over in Pearse Park as well. So, fair play to both teams in relation to that.
Definitely. So, obviously, as I said, the toes of the frosted. What was the weather like at the start of that game, Andy? Because it was a bit kind of Jekyll and Hyde, the weather yesterday.
Do you know what, Derek? It was obviously all the weather warnings. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Like, don't get me wrong. Maybe first 20 minutes was bearable wind, if you want to call it. It did then start to really deteriorate. It was really windy. Like, the keepers were kicking it out, and it was going down the centre of the pitch, and all of a sudden it'd be going down off to the M50. 25 minutes in, and then all of a sudden, Derek, I've never seen anything like it. This shower of hailstones fell, and my God, everyone was scarpering. The pitch just emptied. Like, in fairness to the referees, I think Owen Murphy actually had to go into the middle. I think Davey Fitz had an injury, so he had to go onto the line. So they switched at half time, and Owen did the right thing by just letting it pass for 10 minutes. And then after that, it was incredible. It was like a summer's afternoon. It was so surreal. I just can't get over it. Really, it was all weathers in one.
And obviously an enjoyable game to watch with Kilnamanagh winning 2-1 in the end. Do you want to give a brief update of the game before we spoke to Keith Foy a little bit earlier on? Do you want to give a brief synopsis of the game?
Yeah, look, from my point of view, it was a fairly even game. The first half, especially, as I said, the conditions really started to tell. Kilnamanagh they conceded a poor goal, maybe 20 minutes on the clock, and from then they were the better side. They created the better chances. They built up the play. Cockhill were sort of happy to protect the lead and play on the break. But, to be honest with you, I thought Kilnamanagh were very, very much worth the win. They've some excellent players there that we'll touch on later on. But, ex-League of Ireland lads that really, really got them through the game, you know what I mean? Some quality on the ball, given the conditions. Gary McCabe, sorry, in the middle of the park. I don't think he left the centre circle the whole game, but he still controlled it with his passing and his reading of the game. And you had Ken at centre half as well. Like, he could probably still play at any League of Ireland team, to be honest with you, from what I see in there. Still very much has it. So yeah, look, they were very much worth the win in the end.
Yeah, and obviously a huge result. We spoke to Keith Foy just a little earlier, so we'll have a listen to that interview, and then we'll come back and have a look at the games to look forward to this coming week.
Keith Foy, manager of Kilnamanagh, welcome to the podcast this evening. How are you?
I'm fine, Andy. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Obviously, fresh off the back of an intermediate win yesterday against Cockhill. Great result for the club. I was at the game myself. Obviously, left a bit early because of the weather, but it was a great result for the club. I think you were fully deserved the win. You contained a really good Cockhill side there. Tell us a bit about how that game went, Keith, in your eyes.
Yeah, no, listen, it was obviously a tough match. It was the third time that the match was supposed to take place. We've obviously travelled up twice up north, once when it was called off, and then once we got a 1-1 draw up there that took us into yesterday. Obviously, we knew what Cockhill were all about. We had them. We had a bit of information on them. prior to the first game, and then obviously after playing them, we knew they were going to be well organised, a tough team to break down. But we were quite patient. Obviously, we had an early setback on 1-0 behind after about 15-20 minutes. But the lads came out after that, and I thought we were the better team up to half time. Possibly could have went in at half time ahead, but we got ourselves back into it. It was 1-1 at half time, and then we got the winner probably in 15 minutes into the second half. Cockhill put us under a lot of pressure the last 20 minutes, as you would expect, but we held firm. I always thought we were quite comfortable. I thought in the first half, as I said, we could have seen it off, maybe got ourselves in front, but it wasn't to be. And in the end, obviously, an excellent result for the club. It's the first time in the quarter-final of the Intermediate Cup, and everyone's over the moon in the club, you know.
Yeah, obviously the club are doing really well at the moment, Keith. It's great to see, and I'm sure the men behind the scenes and all are really happy with how things are going. Obviously, before we speak about the upcoming game at the weekend in the Intermediate, I'd like to touch on obviously back-to-back promotions with yourself since you've gone in there in the league from 1B right up to Senior 1, and you're in the hunt for a third successive promotion in a row. Obviously doing really, really well. Some of the players that you have there are fantastic. Some ex-League of Ireland players there as well. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know it's a couple of times you've returned to Kilnamanagh. It seems to be the prodigal son returns a number of different times, but this campaign has really been good for you.
Yeah, no, it has. Probably about 2.5 years ago. I actually packed it in up at Bluebell with Andy Noon at the time. I was stepping away from football, probably taking a year out. But then Kilnamanagh kind of came to me, and as everyone knows, I'm a local lad. I'm from Kilnamanagh. So I came back in, took over at Kilnamanagh in September of 2.5 years ago. We were in 1B at the time. The club had already been 5 matches in. I think they'd won 1 and lost 4, so they were in a little bit of trouble at the time. But we came in. We were lucky enough. We had honest lads there in Kilnamanagh that were willing to work hard, willing to listen, take things on board. And in that particular season, it came down to the last 3 matches. We needed to win the last 3 matches by a combined total of 10 goals to get promoted. And lucky enough, we achieved that over the 3 matches. So that brought us into 1A immediately in the first season, and a similar situation then in 1A last year. We needed to win the last 3 matches to finish ahead of Portlaoise by a point, and lucky enough we achieved that as well, and it brought us on to this season. Obviously we needed to bring 1 or 2 lads in. The lads we had here have been excellent over the last couple of years, and there's a good core of lads that are still here from 2.5 years ago, but obviously the squad was a bit thin, so we needed to add, and we added, I thought, really well this season. We brought in a lot of lads over the last 18 months or so, a lot of lads with experience, League of Ireland experience as well as LSL experience. So yeah, like, we're in the hunt for promotion again. I'm hoping then we can kick on over the next couple of weeks, couple of months. I know we've had a cup run, and sometimes you can't take your eye off the ball, but I feel the lads they know what our main aim is, and the cup has been a good distraction. But I'm sure then once the cup is out of the way, we'll be cracking on with the league then, hopefully to earn that towards promotion, as you say, you know.
Am I right in saying, Keith, that the club were in 1B for a considerable amount of time before you getting promoted?
Yeah, they got promoted into 1B, I believe, for 16 years. They were in 1B, never got relegated, never got promoted after they got the initial promotion from junior football. So they had been lingering around 1B for quite a bit, so it was an achievement in itself to get out 1B, but obviously that wasn't enough. We wanted to kick on again, and there's a lot of lads behind the scenes in Kilnamanagh that it goes unnoticed that the work they put in. They put a lot of work in, a lot of time, and it was certainly enjoyable for all them when we finally got out 1B, you know. It was a long time coming.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of positivity around the club with the new AstroTurf and the facilities. In fairness, they're looking great up there at the moment. The pitch held up really well considering the conditions at the weekend, but I suppose there's just a real good buzz around the club at the moment.
Yeah, no, there is. There's a good committee in there that off the pitch they're after doing a lot of work, particularly over the last couple of years. Especially with the Astro, we extended the Astro only last year. There was a lot of time, effort and money that went into that. A lot of money went into the pitch. The pitch probably wasn't up to scratch maybe 18 months ago, but a lot of work went into that. A lot of time and money also went into it. I don't think there was too many pitches that would have held that amount of rain that came our way over the weekend. So we were lucky enough and happy enough that the match actually went ahead. We were quite concerned on Saturday evening, but lucky enough we woke up Sunday morning and the pitch was playable anyway, you know. But yeah, no, as I said, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people wouldn't see. It's a hard working committee at the club, you know.
Yeah, that's good. So just going on to the weekend now, obviously the games are coming thick and fast in the FAI Intermediate Cup. Obviously you don't get much time to sort of enjoy the win, I suppose, but you're up against Kilnamanagh Donecarney now next Sunday, is it?
Yeah, Sunday
this
morning,
coming
11
Sunday,
o'clock.
yeah.
This coming Sunday, yeah, 11 o'clock out in Kilnamanagh, yeah.
So Keith, in advance of playing Cockhill, you obviously knew that you would potentially face Kilnamanagh Donecarney in the next round. Have you had a chance to have them watched, or have you seen them play yourself this season?
No, I haven't had a chance over the last couple of weeks to have them watched, but we played Kilnamanagh just prior to Christmas in the Charlie Cattle Cup. So we came up against them. We lost 4-3 after extra time in that game. In Kilnamanagh, it was quite a tight match on the day, you know. So it's the only bit of information I have on Kilnamanagh is when we've played them, and I've watched them once before the season, earlier on the season, away to Minute, I think it was, a 0-0 draw out there. But apart from that, I haven't seen them, you know.
So what is the strategy going, without giving too much away, obviously, what's the strategy going into the game? Is it just stick to what you do best and kind of implement your own game plan because you don't really have enough information about them?
Yeah, no, listen, we'll go out there with a plan. Hopefully it's successful on the day. We're obviously only over the Cockhill game, so myself and the coaching team will probably have a sit down tomorrow evening, have a chat about the upcoming game, decide what way we will be playing and how we approach it. Obviously, we're the underdogs going into it. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't expect Kilnamanagh to be challenging for the Intermediate Cup come the end of the season, but anything can happen on the day, you know, and we'll just go out there, hopefully give a good account of ourselves, and you obviously need a little bit of luck along the way as well, so hopefully luck is with us on Sunday and we'll take it from there, you know.
Yeah, and just kind of looking beyond Sunday, have you looked past Sunday's game, or are you kind of just focusing one game at a time?
It is one game at a time. Like, I think that's the way you have to approach it. You know, obviously we know we play Kilnamanagh Sunday, then we play Minute in the last 16, the Metro on the Wednesday night. So we've two tough matches coming up. So we will be taking that into consideration as well. But obviously we'll concentrate purely on Sunday first, and then we'll see how the lads come out of that and see how the injuries are and everything else on the Monday. And then after that, we'll be hopefully back in league action, because I think we've only played 2 league games since Christmas, you know. So we are eager to get back in the league, you know.
Is there a danger there, and I think I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, is there a danger of cup games getting in the way of the kind of primary focus, obviously, when you start out the season is promotion? Is there that danger there?
Of course. Of course it can be, but I think it can work two ways. Like, I think a good cup run can help you in the league in a funny way, and I know a lot of other teams could be looking at us and they're happy enough that we've won yesterday, because we're concentrating now on another cup game, and we're not concentrating on the league. But as I said, I think this can do wonders for your team, for your squad. It can certainly make lads believe in what you're trying to achieve, and sometimes can help you kick on. Now, there is the other flip side of it, that you're obviously falling behind in the league, both with matches and points. So you just hope that by the time you come back play league games, you haven't fallen too far behind, and come the end of the season, you're not playing maybe 2-3 matches a week for the last few weeks. That's what you want to try and avoid. But I suppose that's what happens when you are quite successful in the cups. That can happen to you, But as I said, I think it can work two ways,
Definitely. Listen, Keith, we want to wish you the best of luck at the weekend, and thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, no problem, Derek. Thanks a million.
Yes. So that was Keith Foy there. Huge thanks to Keith for coming on the show, and best of luck to the lads this Sunday against Colester, Dooney-Carney. So Andy, looking forward, obviously some big games coming up this week. None more so from my perspective than a top of the table clash in Senior 1B, St. Francis against Kilbarrack United. That's shaping up to be a huge game. Obviously ourselves, we've opened up a little bit of a lead at the top of the Senior 1B table, but all the teams below kind of know if they can win all their games in hand, they're kind of breathing down our necks. So St. Francis have 2 games in hand on us. They're on 30 points at the moment, and we're on 38 points. So if they win their 2 games in hand, they're essentially 2 points behind. But obviously beating us in one of those games as well will allow them to overtake us essentially. So massive game to look forward to. It's out in the new Astro out in John Hoyland Park on Thursday night. So that's definitely one to look forward to. Any others that you're looking forward to yourself, Andy?
Yeah, I'm actually going to head to that game, I think, after training on Thursday, Derek. So I'll give a fair and impartial report next week, all right? Rather than your very biased one.
What are you trying to imply? I'm always fair and impartial as well. Well, I try to be anyway. No, but as I said, it should be a cracking game. So I'd encourage anybody to get out and watch it. Two teams who are playing really well at the moment. So it should be a great advertisement for LSL football. Another game that kind of stood out for me, I'm not sure what you think yourself, but Newbridge Town against Liffey Wanderers, Andy. I was looking at the table a little bit earlier on, and there's still a lot of teams kind of mid-table in the Senior Sunday who potentially could be dragged into that relegation fight. I think if you look at Liffey's at the moment, and you wouldn't think of them as kind of potentially being in that relegation dogfight, but they're in 9th at the moment and on 15 points. Newbridge are on 14 points, so it's kind of, I know Liffey's have a couple more games in hand, but that could be one with Newbridge scrapping at the moment. If they get a couple of points there, Liffey's could be dragged down into that.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest with you, Derek, it's only since doing the podcast that I've been looking at the tables on a more regular basis, and this is one that kind of slipped past me because I knew they had a bit of a shaky time, Liffey's, over just before Christmas, but I didn't realise they were on such a bad run. Now they're 6 defeats in 7 games. They've only picked up 1 point. This is a massive game for those Liffey lads. Now they'll argue that they have games in hand, but getting into this stage of the season, you really want to start getting points on the board. So yeah, you're right. They can be dragged in. Now look, as I said, all it takes is a couple of wins. They're on 15 points. Probably this season, anywhere between 25 to 27 points, they'll see it safe. So, it's still in their own hands. But the form that they're on at the moment and the run that they're on at the moment, they probably will need a good win, against a team that are down there at the moment,
Yeah. Newbridge this season, they come up with kind of I think people were expecting a little bit more from them. Were they kind of wrong to expect a little bit more from Newbridge?
I think they had made a couple of decent name signings. There was experience from around the league. Now I know there was a change of manager and a few bits and bobs that were going on behind the scenes from what I've heard, but again, they're another team that are in sort of a poor form because, in the last 7 games, they've only drawn 1. So again, they're two very similar sides. They're in bad form, so they're probably happy to be facing off against each other because they'll fancy themselves against each other. But I suppose it really depends. It's important for Newbridge because they're obviously playing not so well at the moment and not getting the results. So you just want to get that win and get a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence back into the dressing room, because it's a very lonely place going 6 games without a win. So it's a tough one. It's a game that I'd be interested to see how the teams will tackle it, because they'll be nervous as well. They won't want to get beat again. So whether they trying to adapt their style or whether they go with a different approach, I'm not so sure. From a neutral's point of view, I would be interested to see how that game goes, because, as I said, they'll be nervy at the start and they'll both want to win, and they'll understand how important the win is to them.
Definitely. So that's shaping up to be a huge one. That's Friday night down in Newbridge. So definitely one to consider getting down to as well. Another huge game on this weekend, which kind of flew a little bit under the radar for me. And fair play to the lads at Oliver Bond for getting in touch with me. Oliver Bond played our quarter-final of the FAI Junior Cup this weekend away to Ferrybank in Waterford. And the lads have told me they've 3 bus loads of fans going down there. So a massive game for the club, who are currently playing in the Senior 1 Sunday, I believe. I'd need to be 100% sure on that. Let me just check. Major 1 Sunday. Or are they even below that? No, they're Major 1 Sunday, yeah. So they're second place on Major 1 Sunday, having a really good run in that league as well, in second place. So, and you'll probably be familiar with a few of the players there who played in the Oscar Traynor team as well, Andy, yeah?
Yeah, a couple of really good players there, Derek. To be honest with you, yeah, there's some that would really be capable of playing at a higher level. There's obviously a group of mates there that they're happy enough to play with, which is great, and they're really reaping the rewards the last couple of years. You see the results online and on social media over the last few years, and they've been really picking up good results. So flying again this year, hopefully they can do the business down in Ferrybank the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Just sticking with the topic of the FAI Junior Cup, the draw for the quarter-final, semi-final draw. Sorry, did I say that game was a quarter-final game? I'm not sure whether it's a quarter-final game actually or not. Let me just check, because the draw for the quarter-final. Yeah, I think I misread that. But if they come through this, and the quarter-final draw is next Tuesday, I believe it's going to be streamed live. Although where that's going to happen, I'm not too sure. But it's been the draw has been done over in Abbottstown, so hopefully it'll be streamed live. And I believe they're doing the quarter and semi-final draw in the one go. So you'll have kind of pathway to the final there potentially. I do see on the official communication that went out there, the final date and venue has yet to be confirmed. So we obviously knew it was potentially not going to be in the Aviva with the Euros happening this year. So it'll be interesting to see where the venue actually is for that. I'm not sure when that's going to be confirmed, but stay tuned and we'll
Has
bring
to be
it
Tala, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'd hope it would be Tala. Although last year it was in Galway, so I think it probably just comes down to availability there and and what dates are available. But look, best of luck to the lads, Oliver Bond, on the trip down to Waterford, and we'll keep you updated with the rest of the draw as it comes through next week. Other huge games to look forward to. Obviously, we've just come off the back of an Intermediate Cup weekend, but obviously you've 3 massive games for LSL sides this weekend, Andy.
Yeah, Malahide play Maynooth. I've gone blank here, and I can't remember who Malahide played. I cannot remember. Apologies.
I can't remember myself.
Yeah, I'm after going blank, but Maynooth are just off the back of beating Crumlin yesterday in Pearse Park 3-1. So, that's a really, really good game. As much as you could argue that was an upset yesterday in Pearse Park, Crumlin not at their own standards this season. They'll be bitterly disappointed to go out of competition. But Maynooth have picked up some big results this season already, so they'll fancy themselves again going out against Malahide who are really good at home as well, as I mentioned earlier on. So that will be an interesting enough game. Killester Donecarney are home against Kilnamanagh, as we mentioned earlier on with Keith. That will be a good game. I'll probably head out to that myself, if depending on a clash with my own game. But that'll be an interesting enough game, because although there is a division between the two sides, Kilnamanagh, from what I seen at the weekend, have a really, really, solid 8-9 lads that would compete in senior division. So, like, that will be a really tight game, and I think there could be a potential upset on the cards there. And then as we mentioned earlier on with Stephen,
or later on, we haven't listened to Stephen's interview yet. So
sorry, we haven't listened to it yet. So we spoke to Stephen earlier on about obviously the game coming up, and Mocktus travel there, and another real big challenge for that St. Kevin's team. I know there's a young side there; they've been going through the ranks with each other, but they will fancy themselves against a really good and experienced Mocktus side. So 3 really, really good games the weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they shape out, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we'll listen to that Stephen Costello interview in a second, but just to say, I'm sure there's a load of other big games on. They're just a snapshot of what we could pick, and due to time constraints, we can't talk through every big game coming up at the weekend. But if next week, if you want us to either preview one of your games coming up or talk about a game that happened at the weekend, do get in touch with us, and we can chat more. But we do need people to send us in information because we can't be at every game, or we don't know every game that's happened. So feel free to get in touch with us. As you mentioned, Andy, we spoke to Stephen a little bit earlier on, so he kind of gives us a bit of a preview of this game between Kevin's and Mocktus as well. So let's have a listen to that, and then we'll come back afterwards. Stephen Costello, St. Kevin's FC manager, welcome to the LSL podcast.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
No problem. So, Stephen, before we get to talk to you about your big toy in the FAI Intermediate Cup this weekend, tell us a little bit about your background in football. Who did you play for, and how did you end up managing St. Kevin's?
Yeah, well, if you want to go back all the way back to schoolboy, I basically from under 14, I started with Kevin's under 15, actually. Started with Kevin's. Played a couple of seasons there, and went to UCD League of Ireland on a scholarship then. Lasted about 2 or 3 years there. Unfortunately, done with crucia. Not that it wasn't while I was at UCD, I kind of twisted my knee. Had a couple of years, bit of bother with that. But in the meantime, I'd signed for Westby, or Phoenix United as it was then, as it is now. Sorry. And I was there. I left and went to Kevin's. I've been there ever since, about 8-9 years, and I was there. I actually done with crucia. Got back from that. That was a tough injury. Got back from that. And basically spent about 8 or 9 years down from there. I went to Talca. Talca Rovers, they were in the senior division at the time. Good side up there. Managed by Jay Kelly up there. So he asked me to go up there with Robbie O'Reilly. Went up there, spent 2 or 3 more seasons there. And from there I kind of finished out. I had a bucket handle tear on me on my meniscus on the same knee that I'd done me cruciate, so kind of I was advised kind of just take a step back, so that's what I did. And the coaching was always something that I was always interested in, so Talca kept me on there with the Saturday team. Began with the Saturday team, and Martin Doyle was first team coach at the time, and he stepped away for personal reasons, so they asked me to step up then to the first team. Had a good it was actually Jay's last season there, so we had a good season there. From there then, Martin Doyle actually got the Kevin's job, and he asked me to go on board with him there. So spent 2.5 years under Martin. Good years, learned a lot. Knowledge of the game is really good, top coach. So from there then, when he left for personal reasons again, I was asked to take over, so that's what it is. And that was this my 4th full season now with them. So really enjoying it at the moment.
And you mentioned you kind of had an interest in the coaching before. Have you kind of progressed that with your coaching badges? Where have you gone with that?
Yeah, I have actually. I've started back in 2010, I think. I was just doing the kickstarts. It was always something that appealed to me. I don't know whether it was when the time I was out injured, actually just looking from games on the side, just picking up things, and it always fascinated me especially with amateur and junior players, wherever about professional players, that I always wanted to kind of I wouldn't say teach the game, but coach the game. And started off the Kickstart 1 and 2, progressed then up, and at the moment I've one more block left on the UEFA A licence, hopefully during the summertime, hopefully achieve that. That'd be a great achievement, so yeah, so that's where we are at the moment. So it's busy, busy, hectic lifestyle at the moment. So no, but I'm enjoying it. Really good.
We spoke to Ed Saul a few weeks ago, and he was talking to us about the amount of work that goes into the A licence. How have you found fitting that in around your personal life and also just around coaching St. Kevin's as well?
Yeah. I've done my UEFA B with Ed, top lad, great coach. As he was saying, there's an awful lot of work involved in it, especially away from the blocks. You'd go and we've done 2 blocks over November, and just there in January we've done another block. And you're spending 12 hours a day there, from 9 in the morning till 9 in the evening. And then when you go away, then you're given a set of assignments to do, and you have a deadline to meet for them. So yeah, it's an awful lot of time, and that's probably the most challenging part of it is finding the time. And it's very time consuming to actually just sit down and especially the likes of PowerPoint and Word and Excel, trying to get your head around that. And what you do then, that can be be quite challenging. But no, it's good. It really is. The knowledge, especially on the A licence now, is a bit different to when I done the B. I done the B back in 2016. So just kind of went with the B then. I felt, have to get out on the pitch, get your experience before you can actually go on the A. A lot of lads now maybe go from the B to the A maybe too quickly. But that's not for me to judge or anything like that. But I just felt I had to step away and, work at it and get myself up to a level where I felt I was ready to go on the A. So that's what I did. And I've enjoyed the A. It's the knowledge. It's all about detail now, where the B, when I done the B, it was about analysis and kind of reports, getting reports and stuff like that. But now it's about the in-depth knowledge of the game, the small little details that make a difference, formations, systems of play, style of play, and so it's really getting down to the nitty-gritty. But the assignments itself, it can be quite challenging at times, especially with the family and working full time. You're kind of getting home and getting the kids, whatever it might be, collecting them from school, and I'm out kind of with my young lads team as well, Monday and Wednesday. We train Tuesday and Thursday, so and then the young lads will play Sunday morning. We play most Friday night, so yeah, it's 6 days a week. On Saturday, then I have my other young lad who plays Gaelic football and hurling at a reasonable level as well. So obviously you want to get out and see as much as you can of that as well. So you're just trying to find kind of 2 or 3 hours here or there over the weekend, or you're kind of staying up late at night to kind of get bits and pieces done, but getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It definitely seems like a huge amount of commitment. And Ed mentioned as well, like his ultimate goal, he'd love to work in the League of Ireland. Have you set yourself any goals for the future, or where you'd like your coaching career to take you?
Not really, no, because I think the industry itself, especially in Ireland, is it's tough. It's tough to try and break through, especially with everyone doing the A's, doing the coaching badges. There's a massive appetite for it there now. So at the moment, I'm just happy enough where I am. I have to say, it's a good environment, good club. But in the future, you never know. And that's probably out of my hands. You just don't know what's around the corner. You lose a couple of games, or you go through a bad spell, and it's taken out of your hands completely. So while I'm working at Kevin's now, I'm really enjoying it. But around the corner, of course, you want to go up and kind of test yourself and at a higher level. That's what the ambition is. But whether that be with Kevin's or whether it be with someone else, who knows? But for the moment, we've put a plan in place down at Kevin's there, so going reasonably well at the moment. So see where that takes us over the next little while. Anyway, so you just never know what's around the corner,
Stephen, you mentioned obviously you've been there for a number. Is it your 4th season now with Kevin's?
This is my 4th full season. Yeah, I finished when Martin stepped away. He kind of stepped away mid-season, so I finished that season and then left. We were still in the AUL at the time, and we left then, went to Leinster Senior then. Yeah.
And how do you feel the progress at the club since you've taken over has gone? Obviously, you've invested in yourself, and I'm assuming the benefits have gone onto the pitch. Obviously, doing really well at the moment. But have you seen sort of young lads progressing through the ranks, or even players that you've brought on into the team yourself? Have you seen a bit of progression within the team itself?
You do. Now, whether that's with us helping them, I'd like to think we have a little part to play in that. But the group was quite young when we got going with them, and we were in the AUL, as I said at the time, and we left and went to the Leinster Senior. I just felt at the time the club maybe felt that we'd gone a little bit stale in the AUL, and the change was needed. We were bringing the new all-weather in Aidens on board as well for the following season, so we thought that was the time, maybe that was the right time. And we had to be careful when you do these things, because it's not as if you're challenging for honours year in, year out at Kevin's at that particular stage, so usually when, as years gone by, as you probably know yourself, Andy, that when teams leave the AUL to come to Leinster Senior, they're usually at the top of their game. They're usually challenging for leagues or challenging for junior cups or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for us. So we had to be careful, because we didn't want to come to a stage where, we become stagnant down in the lower divisions of the Leinster Senior junior leagues, and all of a sudden then players are leaving and you're scratching your head then 6 months down the line thinking, geez, maybe we should have stayed in the AUL. So we thought long and hard about it. The club decided to go there, but when we went, I have to say, fair play to the lads. Now there's a lot of lads who are still with us there now, who jumped ship, who came over to the Leinster Senior League with us and are still there now. And they were quite young at that time, but I think the experience of just playing in the junior leagues down there, with a little bit of coaching they may have got from us, certainly stood to them. But I think out on the pitch is where players gain most of their experience and most of their learnings, and certainly down major one is actually where we started in.
Yeah.
The first season we got promoted, so but in saying that, the second season we had a massive learning curve. Didn't quite go according to plan. We one stage I think we were fourth, maybe fifth from bottom at one stage in the league, out of all the cups, and that was only 2 years ago, And I still kind of look back to that, and I still kind of remind the lads now and again of that time, that that was huge learning curves, heavy defeats, coming off and scratching your head, and the lads are scratching their head because we were trying to do the right things with them, and I was trying to convince them that the way we're going is the best way possible, hopefully. And then we turned around the following season, then we got 1 or 2 more bodies in, and kicked on then. That was last season. So got promoted in, some big game experiences there as well. We've done well in the Junior Cups, Leinster Junior Cup semi-final, won the Kevin Nugent, which was huge for the group itself, just to get that kind of winning feeling within the group. Was for a group so young, what he went through the year before, was huge for them, So, but we'll never forget that, and I'll never forget that kind of learnings that you have down there. And I think you have to go through them kind of bad experiences. I wouldn't say bad experiences, but I think, as the old saying goes, to experience or to achieve success, you have to experience that failure. We certainly did that, and I think, and I'd like to think it's standing to us now.
There's obviously you can see a huge amount of progress since you come over to the LSL, and obviously this year there's an exciting title race hotting up in the Senior 1B. Have you been impressed with the quality of that league this season? There's always some interesting results every week. What's your impressions of the quality of the league you're playing in this season?
Yeah, it's very competitive. It really is very competitive. I think from day one there, you're getting results week on week there that kind of raising eyebrows all across the board, and you can see there all the way down to mid-table there, for the 3 promotion pushes there. Anybody who's in the shake-up now, put a good run together, 4 or 5 games, and suddenly you're in the mix again, but the results have gone in a way that it's kind of keeping everyone together, maybe with the exception of yourselves in Kavaric, Derek, that, got games on board and got points on board, and you've put yourselves into really good positions there now. So it's up to us now to catch up. It's up to the rest of us now to try and hang on in there till the last couple of games or last 4 or 5 weeks to see where it takes us, But I think the level is really good. We played Francis there before Christmas, and the 2-2 draw we had at home with them. I was really impressed. Really good game of football, high standard football. For one day I thought was really good. I thought that level of football. We played Castle Knockaway as well, really good. Good level of player out there as well. Cardiff, who were maybe in the wrong end of the table, if you like, for what they've. If you look at them, you've only seen that a couple of weeks ago with Kilnamanagh,
Exactly, yeah.
So that's how tough it is there. You get off to a bad start, and suddenly you're chasing the group. Then you're playing catch up all of a sudden. So, it's been really competitive, really good. It's good for the league. I think it's testament to the Leinster Senior League and the position it's in at the moment, all throughout the divisions. You look at Major there as well, Rush Athletic. You have Usher, you have Sheriff, steaming up behind. So I think the level is really, really good there. So and then you have 1A and 1 Senior 1 and obviously then the big boys up in Senior Division. Yeah, it's a good level.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see plenty more twists and turns, not just in the Senior 1B, but in all those other divisions that you mentioned. There's plenty more football to play, so I don't think anybody has it wrapped up just yet. Of course, you overcame a fellow Senior 1B side in the last round, and that I think kind of a duo of games there. The first game was a 2-2 draw, I think, and then the second one as well. Talk to us a little bit about those two games, because particularly the last replay had an exciting finish to it.
Did actually, yeah, and the first as well. We went out there on a Sunday afternoon. It was the weekend that there was a lot of, I think, 2 other intermediate cup games were called off as well, with the frost that we had that weekend. And yeah, it was a heavy pitch, tough place to go. It's a tough place to go on a Sunday afternoon. Bit of a crowd, Willie Henry down there has them well drilled. Good young side. So again, another team that maybe should be higher up in the league than we actually are. But I thought overall in the first game we created more chances, but found ourselves 2 minutes away from going out of the cup. And we ended up pulling an equaliser out in injury time. And we played quite well for the conditions. I think the 2 teams probably put on a good show. There's a proper cup tie, blood and guts and thunder all through it. But we tried to play as we do, stuck to our principles, stuck to our style of play, and what was the most satisfying coming out of it was the equaliser that we got. It was you can be forgiven for the last couple of minutes in injury time. Teams can be forgiven to just go a little bit more direct, but we didn't. The lads stuck to the plan. They kept playing, and we got our just rewards. I think the move started with the fella who scored, the centre back, Jamie Delaney, who scored the goal. Started by getting the ball off our goalkeeper. Moved through the units, got the ball out wide, and when he played it out wide, he actually he carried on his run, and lo and behold, then he just got on the end of the second phase kind of header that came back across the box. So yeah, listen, we played quite well in that game. The second game then was a little bit of a different dynamic. Obviously on the all-weather then, a different dynamic. So we went behind twice in that game again. We're on took the lead, and we responded quite well. Got a penalty within 2 or 3 minutes of going behind. Scored a penalty. I went behind again. I think it was about 20 minutes to go in the second. 20 minutes to go in the game when they got their second goal. And again, we stuck to it, kept playing, made a couple of substitutions. I thought Ferron was getting a bit leggy maybe at that stage. Brought 3 lads on, freshened her up, and yeah, we just kept creating chances, kept doing the right things, and again, got our just rewards in the end. And fair play to the lads for doing that, and it's great to see. Andy was talking about maybe, can you see fruition coming through from coaching? I think that's testament to the lads who do listen and who do kind of carry out a game plan. And when you see it coming off like that, it's very satisfying for a coach or a manager when you see that. So all credit to them. So so we move on now. We move on to the extra time. Then we brought on Yuki, is a Japanese lad who's over on the student exchange. And he kind of changed the game, lit up the place. I think anyone who was there kind of realised that he was the difference. Scored 2, and I think he made another 2 in extra time. Their goalkeeper, who had a whirly of a night, really had, and you felt kind of sorry for him coming off the pitch, probably getting man of the match and still conceding 7. But that's just the way it was. That's just the way the game went. So we were really happy to get through that, and so we just look forward now to the quarter final now this Friday.
Yeah, obviously, Stephen, you're facing St. Mark's side, obviously top of the senior division at the moment, but you're picking up big results, and I suppose like the confidence from those cup games you're picking up over the last couple of weeks will be very important coming into that game. Obviously, I think you're unbeaten in 6 games at the moment in the league as well, so you're in a good run of form. I suppose you'll fancy your chances, even though there's a big gap between the divisions. At the end of the day, it's a cup game. Anything can happen. But the lads must be in confident mood at the moment.
Oh, they are, yeah. The atmosphere is good around the place. We're in the group there. It's a good group. And it was the big games that actually, even last year, kind of brought them together and made them that little bit tighter and stronger, So the lads are really looking forward to this time now. And because I think at the end of the day, it's a free roll of the dice for us. I think when the draw came out, we're the lowest ranked team left in it, and I think anyone who's looking in at the draw, the teams that remained in it probably wanted us, if I'm being honest, and that's okay with us. We're happy enough with that. Like Mocktus, they're there or thereabouts. Fantastic job they're doing down there over the past couple of years with Brian McCarthy there, and so listen, we'll go out, we'll give her all. The lads are really looking forward to it, as I said, and there's no pressure on our lads. We'll just go out and we'll have a game plan. We'll see, can we stay in the game for as long as we can, and as you said yourself, Andy, it's cup football and anything can happen on any given day in cup football, so but what it is, it's another game, it's another big game experience for the lads, and to have that in the first year of intermediate football, to make the quarter final at the intermediate cup, hopefully will hold us in good stead then going forward, so it's a good test to see where we need to get to, with the big boys in senior division. I know a lot of the Mocktus boys I've played with, a lot of them down in Tolka, good experience, quality players, so we know what we're coming up against. So, but you never know. We just, as I said,
yeah, you mentioned there, Steve.
As long as you can.
Yeah, no, you mentioned there that you do know some of the lads, and like I'm always interested from a neutral point of view to see how you'd set up. Obviously, you're doing really well at the top of 1B at the moment, and you're coming up against a really top side in Mocktus, but will you have gone and get them watched, or obviously a few of the lads, so you'll know somewhat on how they've played, but will you approach the game any differently, or will you just will you adopt the same approach that you've to your league campaign?
I think we'll adopt the same approach, Andy. Yeah, I think we will, because for the simple reason, we've nothing to lose here. We'll go out. The way we play, I think the lads know no different. We know no different. The way we play, they're more comfortable with that, and trying to get them to change now is probably, going against the grain a little bit of our principles. So, as I said, we've no pressure on us. We can go out, we can enjoy the evening. Of course, we want to get the result, and we do our utmost to get that result. But we hadn't watched maybe against Malahide. I would have liked myself personally to go out and watch them. I think it's ourselves you meant to play yesterday, and was called off. And then last Wednesday as well, they meant to play Kilnamanagh, which was also called off. So it'll be 2 weeks since they have played like us as well. So we would have liked to go out and get a bit of a look at them. But as I said, we know what they're going to bring, the quality players there. And you don't know how they're going to set up in regard to personnel. There's a lot of bodies there that they have to call upon. So we'll just go and give it our best. That's all we can do,
Good stuff. Good to hear that.
Well, Stephen, we want to wish you the best of luck on Friday, and hopefully you go through, and we'll get to chat to you again afterwards. Looking forward.
You never know.
So best of luck, and I would wish you best of luck for the rest of the season in the league, but I'll hold back on that for the moment. I'm sure we'll see each other soon.
Hopefully, Derek. Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure. And thanks again. Great job you're doing there, lads, and keep it up. Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, boys. Okay. See you then.
So that was Stephen Costello there, manager of St. Kevin. So again, huge thanks to Stephen for coming on the show. They're going to have a really tough game against a really good St. Mocktus side this weekend. But I think, like you said, Andy, in cup football, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's it, and that's that. Like, I know it's a very cliche thing to say there, but it is the beauty of the cup, because it doesn't matter who or how many teams there are in between it. They'll always fancy themselves, especially at this stage. Like Kevin's, they've nothing to lose. Kilnamanagh, they've nothing really to lose. They've already got to a stage where they probably weren't expecting to. They'll never rule themselves out, but they've probably overachieved in the competition this year. Now I could be wrong in saying that, and I do apologise if I've offended anyone. But like, if you're looking at the teams, you're saying to yourself, you probably wouldn't expect them to be there. It's a record appearance for Kilnamanagh at this late stage of the competition. So that club is already, they're delighted to be where they are. But saying that, they'll also be going out to win the game as well. You know what I mean? They're not just going to be there for the occasion. They're not just going to say, oh, brilliant, we made it to the quarterfinals. We don't have to win the game. They're going to fancy themselves. They're going to go out and give Kilnamanagh or Donnycarney a really, really good game. And equally, so are Kevin's going to Mocktus. Like, Mocktus are in really good form this year. But as I said, you just don't know. And I suppose it'll be a bit of the unknown as well when those games, when the lower league teams come up against the higher division teams. You're not seeing them every week, and you're not really. You might hear of their results, or you might look at their table, and you might know a flash about them, but you don't know their players, you don't know their style of play, and you might get a sucker punch on the day.
Yeah,
You just never know.
Yeah, and I think, like Stephen mentioned, if you keep yourself in the game, especially into the second half, then once it gets to the latter stages, anything can happen. Look, there's going to be a lot of good games out at the weekend, and encourage people, if they can, to get out and watch some of them. Obviously, I'll be at Thursday night's game, and I'm going to try to get to one over the weekend if the wife doesn't threaten to divorce me. And I'm sure you'll be trying to get out to one or two yourself, Andy. But if others are at games, feel free to reach out to us and kind of give us an update on how the game went, and we'll hopefully cover it on next week's show. Before we go, Andy, just to mention, if people are at those games, use the LSL live score hashtag, which we've been beating on about for the last 9 episodes, Andy. And what did you do at the weekend, Andy?
Practice what you preach, Derek, isn't it? And I suppose I got caught out, so apologies for that.
Yeah. Look, I know, especially when it's freezing at a game, sometimes you forget to stick a hashtag into it. But if you are at a game this weekend, do use the LSL live score hashtag, and it keeps everybody updated on what's going on around the league. Andy, it's been a pleasure. Look forward to speaking to you again next week and hearing about some of the games that you were at. So thanks so much.
No problem, Derek. I'll see you next week.